on, just because I post that.
Okay.
Hey guys, it's 1 o'clock, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. One thing I wanted to just tell everyone when I sent out the email about the remind text, somebody brought to my attention, do you know it says Mr. Freeze? Yes, we have one account. So I set it up, but I put his name on it because I'm nice. But anyway, just, yeah, I was gonna say, Mr. Freeze said, seminar today or whatever, just bear with me. So anyway, make sure you sign up for that, please, please, please. If you have any questions on how to do it, let me know and I can help you with that. Does anybody have any questions before we get started? Okay. Oh, yes.
When will we be getting our second?
Probably within the next few weeks. I still have a few stragglers out there that like maybe couldn't make up their mind if they want to take a student or something to that effect. So I'm still trying to work those out, and I don't want to send anything out unless I would have to move somebody.
And that's, the second placement will be the school that we operate off of spring break off of, right?
Yes, because that's when spring break will be. Yeah. Anybody else? And the beauty in that is, in the past, I've had people who said, I need capital spring break because I need March. Everybody's all the same pretty much. I'm not sure about Canal, but everybody else, I think, is all the same. Okay, anything else? All right, so our next part of the program, Ms. Beth Waugh is here. She's pretty awesome, and she is going to give you guys tons of information about resume prep and just interviewing and hiring, and it's really vital information that you need. So let's give her a hand, please.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
I'm pretty loud. I probably don't need that microphone, so we're in good shape. Hi, how are you? I see a friendly face. I don't see anybody else that I know. Okay, good. Okay, well, is this everybody's last semester? Does anybody have to come to summer school? No? So yay, you all are done. That's very exciting. So enjoy this last semester. This is awesome. Okay, so I'll talk to you a little bit, and I'll have to walk back and forth here. But I'm going to talk to you about resume development, but I also want to talk to you because you're all going to be applying for jobs.
Hey, Dave, I'm going to pause for just a minute.
Yeah.
Okay. I will send everybody this PowerPoint. How's that?
I'll send it to Amanda when you're done.
I'll send it to y'all. Okay?
Yeah, I'll send it to Amanda. So, let me ask you all this. How many elementary education majors do I have in here? I know, there's a butt ton of you all, okay? So, it makes it harder for you elementary ed people to get jobs, okay? And not that it's hard to get jobs, it just makes it harder for you elementary people to get jobs. So how many K through 12 people do I have in here? Like art, music, like so you can do K-12. Awesome. And then are the rest of you all specialized like in English, math, science, like middle school, high school, I'm assuming? Okay. Now who in here wants to stay in the state of West Virginia? Okay. Who wants to go just wherever in the heck they can get a job? Okay. Now, who has their eyes set on a specific location? Like, they know where they want to go. Okay, good. I want to talk to you today about being career ready, okay, and applying for jobs. I will talk to you about your documents, but I do also want to talk to you about being career ready, because it is important, okay? My governing body, NACE, has these 8 competencies that they feel like you should have as a graduating senior, okay? If you don't have them, then something has gone wrong while you've been at Marshall University. Okay? And you go to complain to somebody. All right? Not me. Okay. So, number 1. Do you feel you're a good critical thinker and do you feel you're a good problem solver? Yes or no? You all can nod at me. I can't read all of your minds. Okay. Why do you feel this is important for an employer for you to have these skills?
Won't immediately come to them with all your problems.
Exactly. They don't want to stand over you in the classroom all day, every day. So you've got to be able to think yourself your way out of situations, okay? So that's really important. All of these 8 skills you need to somehow identify on your resume, okay? So as you're starting to go into your student teaching, think about how can I do this? How can I put this in my resume that I am getting in my student teaching, I've gotten in my curriculum, because these are really, really important. Obviously, when you write your resume and your cover letter, you're going to demonstrate your written communication, correct? Y'all agree with me? Yes, yes, yes. Nod your heads. Okay. I got to keep you awake after lunch, right? But then your oral communications are demonstrated how? Interview, and y'all are getting ready to student teach, right? So you're going to have that communication with not only your students, but with who else? Administration, the teachers, who else? Parents. And that's really vital, okay? Because when you have your assessment at the end of the semester, all this is going to come into play about who you have dealt with throughout your semester. So think about that. Teamwork and collaboration. So when you go into your student teaching this semester, think about who can I collaborate with? Who can I meet? Who's going to help me in teamwork, okay? Who's going to help me with projects? Don't go in every day, just check in, go to your classroom and leave, okay? You don't want to do that. You want to meet people, you want to collaborate, you want to have teamwork, okay? Because those people are also going to help you probably, hopefully, with letters of recommendation, to get jobs in the future. So teamwork and collaboration is important. Leadership is vital. It is very, very important. Who here, while they've been at Marshall, has been involved in any kind of organization? Great. While you've been in that organization, have you been a chair or organized any activities or anything like that? Okay, that is good leadership, okay? Think about group projects. Have you been a leader in a project? Has anybody done that? While you're a student teaching, think about how can I be a leader? It's important, okay? Leadership skills are vital. I think teachers, education, you're all pretty good with technology, right? Because you have to know how to use all this stuff in the classroom. Do you feel like you're good with it, or do you feel like you're going to learn more in this student teaching? Learn more? But digital technology isn't really just knowing what's out there already. It's your ability to adapt to what's coming, okay? So adaptability is also important, okay? So not getting stuck in the mud, not getting stuck in a rut, okay? Do you feel like you have good work ethic and that you're professional? I will tell you this. My kids go to Huntington High School. Did anybody here go to Huntington High? Okay, I'm going to rag on Huntington High for a second. Sometimes when I go into Huntington High, I can't tell the teachers from the students. Okay, and I think this is the case in not only Huntington High, but other high schools as well. Okay? Same thing with my daughter's middle school. Okay? Teachers were dressed in jeans. Some of them had on sweatshirts. You can't tell the difference sometimes between a teacher and a student. That's not professional, in my opinion. Okay? So I think it's a student teacher, and I know you all are probably on a student budget, so you can't afford to dress, incredibly well every day, but I think there's a way you go in and demonstrate professionalism during your student teaching, because I think that goes a long way. Okay? What about work ethic? What does it mean by work ethic? While you're student teaching, how are you going to demonstrate that you have stronger work ethic than someone else? Confidentiality. So your FERPA violations, right? FERPA. What else? Attendance.
Being prepared on time, having everything ready.
Exactly. And I don't mean to rag on your younger generation here, and I see some older people dispersed, but sometimes the younger generation, you're not as punctual as some of us old people, okay? So make sure that you're on time, but on time doesn't mean if you need to be there at 8 o'clock, be there at 8 o'clock. It means if you need to be there at 8 o'clock, be there at 7:50, okay? So therefore you're there and prepared before it's time to go, okay? You need to stay after. Because work ethic is really, really important. And I think your all's millennial group, I think that you all are judged in a negative way for professionalism and work ethic than any other generation before you. Okay, so I think that you all need to start turning that around a little bit. Okay. Global fluency. What do y'all think that means?
It sounds like being able to understand people from different backgrounds and cultures than yours.
Exactly. So being able to adapt to others. And I think when you all go to any of your classrooms, you hopefully will have a diverse student population. Okay, so it's being able to adapt to them. Any mainstream students that might be in your classroom with an aide, being able to adapt and adapt well. Okay, now all of these, outside of your education, what do you think employers rank as the #1 competency to have when they're looking at your resume? Number 2, what else? 3, teamwork, collaboration.
6,
6, work ethic, okay. Any other guesses? 1, critical thinking, problem solving. No one has guessed it. No? No, leadership. Outside of your education and your degree, what they look for the most is leadership. So if you don't feel you have good leadership on your resume up to this point, think about how you can gain that during the semester in your student teaching. Okay? Because that's really, really important. Next, I want to talk about networking. What is networking? Before I even pull up the screen, what is it?
getting connected with other people who are working in the same field as you and building relationships.
Getting connected with other people. All of you all have had how many clinicals up to this point? 4 or 5. Okay. While you have been there in your clinicals, have you taken time out to get to know the principals, the vice principals, the secretaries in the schools? I doubt it, right? I mean, let's be honest. Have you all done that? Probably not, okay? You should have. Because when you will go out to start your careers, a lot of you all will probably be substitute teaching, okay? Especially you elementary ed people, okay? Making a connection with those principals and those vice principals is vital because they will remember your name, they'll remember your face, they'll remember you were there with what clinical, and they'll say, oh, okay, I remember so-and-so, they were here whenever, and they were a good, I don't know, student teacher, they were here when they observed so-and-so. They're more than likely to call you back in. If you're not out there making those connections, they will have no clue who you are other than a piece of paper. So, during your student teaching rotations, you have got to put yourself out there, okay? Because what's going to set you apart from the people who are graduating from WVU? Or from the University of Charleston? Or from West Virginia State? So think about what's going to set you all apart. You have to get to know people. You have to put yourself out there. And ironically, I find that teachers, even though you're in front of a classroom all the time talking to people, a lot of you are very introverted. I find that you keep to yourselves, you don't talk a lot, you don't mind getting up and teach, but socially, you're kind of an introverted kind of person. So I find that very ironic. So when you talk about networking, maybe, okay. So make sure you reach out to everybody, and where can you network? Career fairs, going to career fairs, alumni in your field, your professors are very good resources. Because when you go into student teach, you always want to send thank you notes. Have you all sent thank you notes to your clinical teachers? Who has? Who sent thank you notes to their high schools or their elementary schools or middle schools where they were? Okay? So you always want to follow up with thank yous, okay, so they know who you are. Who sent an actual thank you note and not an email? Great, fantastic, that's awesome. Because so many people get emails nowadays, the thank you over the email doesn't mean as much anymore, okay? So actually handwriting a thank you is where it's at, okay? So think about what you can do. Who in here is on LinkedIn? If you're not, as a senior, you should be, okay? Is somebody saying what's LinkedIn? Okay, LinkedIn is a professional, I call it a professional Facebook or a professional Instagram, okay? So it's a place where you can set up a professional profile and interact with others. So, because you know the first thing they're going to do when they start to hire you is what? Google your name, okay? So if you have a LinkedIn account and they Google your name, that's what's going to pop up, which is good. So that way they can look you up, look at all of your professional information, other than if you have an Instagram, a Snapchat, a Twitter, you know, anything like that. So I highly suggest getting a LinkedIn. If you can't use it, if you don't know how to use it, you can come to our office because we have a LinkedIn expert who can just set it up for you, okay? Networking is important because of this reason. 70% of employees hired in 2016, I don't have the data obviously yet for 2017, were hired just because of a connection. That is a huge percentage, okay? They weren't hired because they went in and did all the applications and stuff like that. They were hired because they networked and knew somebody. So you have got to start reaching out, get involved in student-teacher meetings, okay? If they do any kind of after-school workshops, go to those. Anything you can do to start meeting the administration and the other teachers, okay? Because that's who you're going to rely on when you start to find a job, okay? Any questions about that? Y'all good? Okay. Now, let's talk about your resume, which is really why I'm here, but I kind of gotten off track. All of y'all have one at this point? Correct? Anybody not have one? Okay. When do you all want to start applying for jobs? It varies, right? So you can look a lot on some of the Board of Educations and they'll let you know if it's a fall start date or if not. If it's a fall start date, do it now. Okay? It's perfectly fine because you can go in under the premise that you have the expected graduation date of May. Okay? All of you all at this point have passed your praxis, correct? No? Okay. This is just me thinking that you have to pass your practice before you can student teach, but hopefully you will have passed your practice before you're done, okay? So you can go in with the expectation that you're going to graduate in May and be certified. So I would go ahead and start applying for jobs that if you see any come open for the fall, okay? Now, when you're thinking about your resume, okay, the ones that you all have, how many pages are they? Okay. I see some 2s over here. Do I have any 3s? I have a 3. Do I have any 4s? Okay, all right. Okay, I feel like an auctioneer up here. Okay, so ideally you want to go to 1. Okay? Now, I will say this about a resume. One of the biggest problems I see when I am reviewing resumes is the reason that they're 2 pages is the formatting and the spacing. Okay? So when you have a resume, make sure it is single-spaced. And not going to the top of Word and clicking the number 1 under the spacing, that doesn't do it. You actually have to go and click on the spacing and change the before and after to 0 and make sure it's truly, truly single-spaced. And then you can probably get it to 1 page. Okay? Now, if you have been very active on campus, if you've had several good jobs, if you've been very involved, it may go to 2, and that's okay. If you have a lot of good experience you want to put on there, 2 is okay. All right? The 3-person, try to get it to 2. Okay? You definitely, no matter what, don't want to go over 2 pages. Okay? All right? Now, your references. Has anybody started to apply for jobs or even looked at the website? Do you notice that when you're looking at most of the counties, and every one of them is different, which kind of sucks for you all, because you have to go through the process over and over. But do you notice that most of the county websites, you have to type in your references individually? Have you all noticed that for most of them? So because you have to do that, just leave them off your resume, okay? If they just take up space, you don't need to acknowledge them on there, so don't even worry about it, okay? Do I have any international students in here? Okay, so I usually don't have this issue with U.S. students, but I just want to point it out anyway. Make sure you don't put anything in there like any hobbies, any extracurricular, not just like reading, biking, kayaking, anything like that. Don't put anything like that on there. Now, let's talk about formatting. Do I have any art majors in here? 1. Oh, you're the lonely girl. You should get a job. Okay. Besides art, when you all are thinking about your resume, do you want to put like a lot of color on there, graphs, designs, anything like that? No, okay? So you're in a professional type of environment, you're in a professional world, so you need to keep it as professional as possible. Typical formatting, black and white. It's kind of boring, but the way you need to sell yourself is with your writing and your creativity. The art gal, you can go outside the box a little bit to show yourself, okay? Now, students ask me, what's going to set me apart from the next person if everybody's resume is black and white and set up the same way? Do y'all agree with that? Okay, I agree with that too. So what's going to set you apart from somebody else? What's going to set you apart is how you write your resume, your wording, your creativity, okay? What you've done. You can also use a different font. If there's a different font that you like to use that's still professional, use it because it might be catching to the eye. And color is okay. If you want to use color on your resume to set yourself apart a little bit, like on your headings, your section headings, that's okay, but make sure you always use a dark color, like a dark blue, a dark green, a maroon, only because when you send that resume in, you never know how it's going to transmit to somebody's printer. So they could print it and they not be able to see it once it's printed, okay? So just always stick to the dark tones, okay? So I've got a resume sample on the next page, and we can look at that. Well, I'm going to skip that because I'm going to run out of time, because I'm going to yak. One mistake I see with education students is that you all leave off your clinical experiences, okay? So when you think about your resumes, did you all put your clinicals on there? Or no? Who did? Who did not? Okay. That is experience in your field. Put your clinicals on there, okay? Now, the first one you went to that was just not a few, that was just minimal observation hours, don't put it on there unless you need a filler, okay? But that last one you did, was it like 75 hours or something? Okay? My goodness, put that on there. That's a lot of hours in your field, okay? So make sure you put your clinicals on there, okay? And then, of course, you're going to put your student teaching on there. I even have education students when they're getting ready to graduate leave their student teaching off. You've got to put that on there because that is the experience in your field. I don't suggest you update your resume the whole time you're doing your student teaching, but I suggest having like a piece of paper or in a notebook or something that everything you do while you're student teaching, you just make a note of it so that at the end you can update your resume, okay? And like we talked about, do all those involvements that you can do while you're living. So just make sure when you're doing your education, a lot of students leave off their degree name, and by that I mean the Bachelor of Arts. So make sure you have that on your resume. It can be called something else at another college, okay? Of course, at Marshall's, Bachelor of Arts in. Make sure you put that on there, okay? One other mistake I see a lot is GPA being left off. So if your GPA is 3.0 or above, put it on there, because that's a selling point for you, okay? So make sure you put that on there. If you have passed your praxis already, put it on there. Okay? You can put your certification down here. Some people even choose to put you have like a code or something like that, like a number, like when you get certified, but you don't have to put that on there if you don't want to. But put it on there, put the date that you took it, put your specialty on there, okay? So put that on there. So I had student teaching here where you did it. Do all of y'all have 2 placements or just 1? 2, okay? So you can split this up into 2. Okay? And be sure that all of your job duties that you talk about here, no matter what they are, that they begin with some kind of really, really strong action word or a verb to actually show what you did instead of telling. Okay? Because there's a difference between telling somebody and showing somebody. So you really want to use those strong action words to show what you have done. Okay? Who in here works part-time? Okay? Get those hands up if you work part-time. Now, who in here works what you would feel like in the education field where you work with kids or tutor or something? Okay, that's great if you work in your field. Many college students work outside their field. Okay, like they work in restaurants or movie theaters or something if you don't want to say, that's fine too. But I would suggest your work experience go down here. Okay, so make sure all your relevant experience goes first, work experience goes down there. Now, students will always ask me, how far back do I go? Did any of y'all work in high school? Yeah. Now, do any of y'all work in the same job now that you worked in high school? That's awesome. Now, that you would want to keep on there. But if you worked a different job in college than you worked in high school, you can leave the high school off now, okay? Unless it was something with tutoring children or something like that that'd be relevant. You can just go ahead and leave it off, okay? So I have that question a lot. Now, your honors and activities down here, that's really where some of your leadership's going to show. So really kind of think about that. How can you show your leadership on there, okay? Your leadership can also show within your student teaching if you helped incorporate some kind of curriculum that they weren't doing before, okay? Or if you helped change scores by a certain percentage. Anything that you did, you can add here to show leadership, okay? One thing, because I was trying to strive for one page, one thing I didn't add on here that I see a lot of students add is just a basic skills section where you just incorporate your soft skills, and you can do that as well, okay? So if you just want to add just a section of skills, you can do that, but we don't suggest more than like 5, okay? Sometimes I see a resume with skills and I swear to goodness they're half the page. Don't do that because they're not going to read them, okay? I put some examples over here of just some basic headings like experience and honors activities, community service. Anybody here have an exuberant amount of community service? Like hundreds of hours? If you do, make that its own section, okay? You mean you're an Eagle Scout? That's awesome. That is leadership. Add that to there. That is awesome. Okay? That's leadership. So that can go under your activities. You didn't say you had that, did you? Okay? So has anybody here outside of Marshall gone to any like kind of workshops or training and development, continuing innovation? Okay, that is awesome if you can add that to your resume because you can put it under continuing education, additional training, workshops. That's awesome if you can add that. Even during your student teaching, if they offer you to go to something, try to go because that's something you can add to build up your resume. Okay? All right. Questions for me?
Some of us older folks.
I appreciate that.
I've got 20 years that have nothing to do with teaching.
Uh-huh.
Do I include any of that in my resume?
Do you, so your job prior to this, did you have it for a long period of time?
Relatively.
I generally say to go back 10 years. But within those 10 years, if you job changed a few times, I wouldn't. I would probably just include the most recent job prior to this education.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anybody else? Any other questions you all have? Go. Okay. All right. I can't remember what I have next, but we'll see. Okay, here are my do's and don'ts. So, when you're writing your resume, make sure that any of your sections, your dates that you have, your locations that you have, just make sure that they line up and down the page so they're pleasing to the eye. Would you all give a guess on how long somebody actually looks at your resume, just scans and looks at it before they actually decide to read it? 10 seconds? 3 to 5. Anybody else? 5 to 7 is the average. Okay? Seconds. Yeah, 5 to 7 seconds. So your resume above all has to look good. Okay? So you have to make sure everything lines up and down the page, your bullet points are the same. So you have to really be consistent in your document, okay? Because they won't read it if it's not, okay? We talked about your job duties. I didn't talk about verb tense. Do I have any English majors in here? Woo. Look, they are all the way for the rest of you all over here. They're hoarded. I was an English major, people. So make sure when you're talking about those job duties, okay, you use the right verb tense, okay? So if you're talking about your clinical that you had last semester or the semester before, what verb tense are you going to use? Past. If you're talking about your current part-time job, what verb tense you're gonna use?
Present.
Present, okay? And believe it or not, when employers are reading your resume, that matters, okay? So you have to make sure that you use good grammar, okay? Font, use something that you feel is appropriate, that looks good and is professional, but please don't use the word default, okay? That's laziness, and it can be spotted a mile away, okay? Which is like that Calibri or something. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, okay? But please don't use that. Make sure it's readable. The font size is readable. I have a lot of students who will do their best to get the resume to 1 page, and they'll shrink it to like a 6-point font. Who can read that? Nobody can read that, okay? So just make sure it's readable. One way to make your resume stand out, since we're talking about on being professional, is doing something nice with your section headings. Bold them, put bars across them, do something with them to make those section headings stand out, and that will help you with your resume, okay? That's where you might can use your color, okay? All right, we talked about not including any personal information. Your resumes that you all have, did anybody use a Word template? Yahoo template, Google template to do it. Okay, so those are great to create your resume because all you have to do is type information and it plugs it in. But when you go back in to edit it, it sucks. Okay? Because they're hidden tables, there are hidden columns. It's really, really difficult. So I would just say stay away from those if you can. Okay? So we talked about all that. I didn't talk about the word I. So your resume is all about you anyway, right? It's a representation of you. And I always call your resume, even though nobody else says this, I always talk about your resume being a persuasive document. Because you're trying to persuade somebody to hire you for a job, right? Or to call you in for an interview. So it's all about you anyway. But you should stick to those short descriptive statements, no sentences, no the word I, no the word me or mine or anything like that. You should stick to short descriptive statements because they're not going to read a bunch of long prose. Because when you're applying for a job, guess how many others are going to be applying for it as well? A lot. Okay? So stick to that short descriptive style. Okay? Any questions about that? Okay. Have any of y'all used job tracks? Yes? You? Think about job tracks as like an iCloud, I guess is how you would want to say it. So we have a lot of education students who will choose to use job tracks when they graduate because it's a way, and you get to use it as an alumni, you get to use it forever. And they will choose to put all of their certifications on there, all of your transcripts on there. It's just like a housing place, okay? And then if you go to North Carolina or Florida or wherever, they'll all still be in one place. So if you need to call us or you need to get back on job tracks, all of your documents are going to be there, okay? A lot of other degrees never use us like that, but education students really do, okay? So it's just something to think about. You can load them as PDFs, Word documents, whatever you need, but think about using a job tracks for that, okay? Okay, I'm done with my spiel. Do you all have any questions for me at all that you can think of? Write this date down, and I think that Amanda's going to send it to you as well. March 7th, I think if I'm not lying to you, I hope I'm not. March 7th is our Educator Expo. It's here in this room, and it's from, hang on, I gave Amanda a handout. I think it's from 1 to 4. Oh, she took them. I think it's from 12:30 to 3:30. It's in the afternoon. You all will be excused from student teaching that day at noon to attend. Okay? So we usually have somewhere between 35 and 40 counties here to recruit you on that day. Not only from West Virginia, okay? We always have Myrtle Beach here. Only because the recruiter who works in Myrtle Beach is a Marshall alum, and she's always here, so we always have students go to Myrtle Beach and work. I suggest if you're a young person and you have no ties, go work at the beach for a few years. She loves it down there, okay? The last 2 years we've had Vegas. I guess they need teachers in Las Vegas. So we've had some students interested in that. Last year we had Alaska. And I will tell you something about Alaska. I would personally never want to go, but they were offering our students like a $10,000 or $15,000 signing bonus to go up there. So maybe you can do it for a year or two. I don't know. We always have several counties from North Carolina. They like hiring Marshall students, so if North Carolina is an option for you. So definitely take the time to come. And when you come, make sure you bring copies of your resume. Okay? Otherwise, they're not going to remember who you are. Okay? Just coming up and talking to them is nothing. Make sure you bring some kind of documentation with you so they'll remember who you are. Okay? Especially if you're interested in it. Okay? All right, any questions for me? All right, you all been great. Enjoy your last semester and go out there and, have a lot of engagement this semester, okay? All right, congratulations.
Have you taken it? I thought so, but everyone said that it wasn't, but I had the PLT.
I haven't
See?
taken,
I swear to God, that was the hardest one out of all of them, but I passed all of them.
I haven't taken the PLT yet.
I just got my.
Yeah, it was on, I just talked.
Good afternoon. Can you guys hear me okay? All right. I cannot compete with Las Vegas or teach at the beach, or I'm trying to think of some of the other recruiters that come in when we're doing this. But I'm Debbie Smith. I'm from Cabell County Schools, right here in your all's back door. And Marshall is always so gracious to allow us to come in and speak to you all, because you will be in our schools tomorrow. And that's exciting. I remember I was sitting right where you all were several years ago. It's been a little while. I have two daughters that graduated from Marshall. One is a teacher, and hopefully my grandchildren will be coming to Marshall as well. So we just want to welcome you all to our schools, and just know going in tomorrow that they have been on Christmas break, just like you guys have. So number one, and the teachers had a snow day today. So they're going to be a little frazzled getting everything ready and getting things moving. So just bear with them. The kids are going to be excited, number one, because they're back to school. Actually, elementary, they're excited. And then they'll be excited because they have a student teacher, because you all are young and fun, and they love having student teachers. But what I wanted to do, and I know you guys have had a full day of this, and I'm the last person that you probably want to hear from. You're excited to get this finished and get out there. But I just wanted to take an opportunity to commend you all for going into education. I see a lot of males sitting out there, so kudos to the males. It's often when I was, yes, give the guys a hand, absolutely, they deserve that. I started out elementary based, just a little background about me. I'll be coming to talk to you guys at the end as well, when you're getting ready to get finished. But a little bit of background about me. I was a late person to start college. I got married first and then started college. My husband asked what I wanted to do. I was working at the mall full time. College was really not mentioned when I was growing up with my parents. My mom went to a one-room schoolhouse in Wayne County. Back in the day, if you all ever read that book, When I Was Young in the Mountains, that depicted her life. My dad went to high school, graduated, worked at what's now what its special metals was Huntington Alloys. And it was something that wasn't stressed. I always wanted to be a teacher. So when my husband said, what do you want to do? Not work at the mall your whole life. I said, I've always wanted to be a teacher. He said, well, that's what you're going to do. I'm going to put you through college. $424 a semester. Yes. And that was in the fall of '85. I got a late start. So
I feel like it needs you.
it is, I know, it's a lot now, it is. That's like one, is that even one credit? Yeah. So, anyway, I did that, I went into elementary education, finished that degree, taught for a few years, and then got a job in Putnam County. Subbed for several years. I loved subbing, loved it, because we had the opportunity to go in and just get all these ideas from all these classrooms. And back in the day, guys, believe it or not, online, internet, that wasn't around to steal ideas. So it was going into classrooms and finding all these really neat things to do from other teachers. And I got a job in Putnam County teaching first grade. And Putnam County did this survey, and they said, we are going to be losing a third of our administrators in the next so many years to retirement. And there's this new thing that we're wanting to try with your all's teachers. We were the first in the state. And guess what it was called? Online classes. So I signed up to be an administrator. I wanted to teach first grade. That was my dream. But it was a chance for me to get my master's degree. So I signed up, did it. My girls were like 5 and 6 years old at the time. Loved it. Got the degree, went into administration, assistant principal, principal. Then I was a supervisor at the board office. Went back to being a principal because I missed the kids. And then this position came open. And I always thought when I went to the board office and visited that office that worked with the teachers, I thought, what an awesome job that would be. It came open and the doors opened and here I am. I'm saying this, all of that, to tell you all, don't be disclosed. I mean, I know you're excited about your teaching certificate, but it can open up so many other windows of opportunity to build on your degree. So I'm about 25 years in. So I know it's a lot for you all to think of. 25 years down the road, as my daughter told me, who's a teacher, she said, I can't imagine doing the same thing every day for like 30 years. And I'm thinking, retirement, insurance, but it's, research says for you all, you're going to have 5 or 6 different degrees in your lifetime. So I would encourage you all, even at this point, when you finish, when you get your certificate, if you're just getting a certificate in one certification area, which most of you probably are, take the praxis. Take advantage of that to make yourself more marketable. Special ed is in high demand. Math is in high demand. Science is in high demand. We right now have positions that are posted right now for speech language pathologists, for hearing impaired teachers. We can't get filled. So any of those areas that you all can take praxis for, I would encourage you to do that. So with you all going out into our schools, I know a lot of you all have been out there doing your practicums, your clinicals, and you all know as well as I do, when you walk into a school, you can automatically feel the culture. It's there right when you walk in. Some schools, sad to say, are more inviting than others. And they all have different, unique characteristics that pertain to them. They are excited to get you. When I was principal, I loved having Marshall students come to our school. Loved showing our school off. And it's good. It's good fit for you all and for us. And I know a lot of you all probably are not planning on staying here in Cabell County. But those of you that are, we want you in Cabell County. I want to recruit you in Cabell County. We like the homegrown. So what I have given you, I don't want to overwhelm you today because I know you're at the end here and you're excited to get out there and you're all tired today, I'm sure. But what I have given you, if you are planning on staying in Cabell County, this is something that you can be working on. So at the end, you won't be kind of scattered and trying to get everything together. The first thing you're going to do, we post online, you go to Cabell County Schools online, and under the Jobs tab, you can click and bid to be a substitute once you guys get finished. Don't do it now, but once you get finished, right there toward the end, you can do that very, very easily. It walks you right through it. Also, in addition to doing the online application, there are a few things that we have to have that you can be getting ready. Your resume, and I think she was just talking to you guys about your resume and giving you all some tips about that. We're going to need a resume. We're going to need a copy of your official transcripts. We will need 3 letters of reference. That can come from professors here at the university. It can come from a church member, your pastor, maybe somewhere that you've worked. If you're working, at Wendy's or a fast food place or a manager or something like that. But we'll need 3 letters of reference. We'll need 2 past evaluations. Those do include your student-teacher evaluations, okay? And then we'll be doing our own background check on you guys. So those, again, just some things you can be getting together. I'm just kind of interested. This is a large group. How many of you all are strictly elementary ed? Okay. What about math people? Good. Special ed? And I'm trying to just think our higher areas of demand. Any secondary teachers, English, social studies? Okay. If you're social studies, we will be having several positions posted this year. We've got a lot of retirements coming open, probably 4 or so social studies positions. And the whole hiring process, I will be going over that with you guys when I come back at the end, because that is a process of the way that we hire our teachers. And it's done that way throughout the state of West Virginia. It's not anything unique to us. There's a process with code that we have to follow. So how many of you all are planning to stay in Cabell County? A little bit? Okay, that's good. So those of you that just held your hand up, please get in touch with Sandy. Her contact information is there at the bottom. And if you want to start sending stuff in, probably around April, that would be a good time to start, just to let her know that you're staying in Cabell, you're going to be a Marshall graduate, and what your degree's in. And I would say probably in April, the end of April, you could go ahead and bid online to get that started. Do y'all have any questions for me? Yes?
Do you have any extra of those?
I do. I think there's some on the tables. If you all have some, can you pass them over this way? Anybody else need one that didn't get one that might be staying in Cabell County? Okay. Thank you guys again. My name is Debbie Smith. You can call the central office and just ask for Debbie. They'll put you right through to me if you all have questions. I wish you all a great semester in our schools and doing your student teaching. Thanks for this opportunity.
Yeah, but I